We will start our meeting today reading a message from the book Our Daily Bread by Emmanuel and Chico Xavier. Prayer. Persevere in prayer, being watchful in it with thanksgiving. Many believers would like to use prayer as if it were a broom or a hammer. They expect immediate results, unaware of any preparatory effort. Others persevere in prayer, but remain frightened and anxious. They wear themselves out and consume valuable energy on unjustifiable afflictions. They see only evil and darkness, and they never take time to examine the tender young sprout of the divine seed, or the close or remote potential for the good. They imprison themselves on the evil side, and sometimes wait an entire lifetime without any intention of going over to the good side. What probability of success could possibly be in store for the needy who cry out their appeals with obvious symptoms of imbalance? From the very start, a sensible grantor will hold off on an answer, prudently awaiting for the potential grantee to regain his or her composure. In this sense, Paul's words are clear. It is imperative to persist in prayer, to be watchful in it with thanksgiving. It is crucial to realize that praise does not only entail uttering beautiful words, it also means being happy while in full combat for the victory of the good, expressing gratitude to the Lord for the reasons for suffering and sacrifice, and seeking the advantages that adversity and effort have brought to the spirit. Let us ask Jesus for the gift of peace and happiness, but let us not to forget to glorify his sublime designs each time his merciful and just will clashes with our inferior objectives. Let us be convinced that ill-timed prayer, comprised of desperate thoughts and improper demands, is destined for the soil of renewal, as happens to an unproductive flower blown away by the wind.
In that way, we start our study today, in this ambient where we find ourselves, in this center of education, as immortal beings as we all are. Ourselves, who temporarily find ourselves in the physical body, all of those in spirit who are with us, all of those in spirit who have been brought here by the spiritual benefactors, all of those who feel attracted in order to study, as we also are, about the Spiritism, a message that inspires lives. May we all feel welcome. May we all accommodate ourselves spiritually in the position as learners as we all are. And start our meeting, considering all of those who anticipated us, who have been working endlessly, continuously, and persistently in helping us to prepare this ambient. May we start to express our gratitude. Our gratitude also for our Master, our Guide, our friend, Jesus, who insistently is inviting us to study, to serve, to cooperate in his field, developing self-love, self-respect, dignity, and so on. Our gratitude towards the Creator of everything and everyone, God, who is love and created every one of us with love in order for us to learn to love ourselves, to love others, to love life, to love the experiences that enriches us, even the hardships, even the challenges. As learners, they are part of our procedure. And in that way, opening our hearts and minds with joy for this unique and special opportunity that has been granted to us, for us to expand our percepts, our concepts, our ideas, to renew and upgrade them in all the moments that we feel that we need to do that, in order to evolve in our thinking, feeling, and doing, taking fully responsibility for our destinies, blessed as we are, full of grace as we are, and united under the banner as brothers and sisters in humanity. We start our study today. So be it. And in that way, we carry on our studies, as always, on Wednesdays, which our objective is to study about Spiritism, inspiring lives. Always bear in mind that Spiritism is the message that the Enlightened Spirits, under the guidance of Jesus, brought to humanity, ourselves and all of those in spirit who are with us. We are all immortal beings. We are all under the banner of God's laws. And today we carry on our reflections under the subtitle Self-Knowledge and Relationships. Is self-knowledge related to relationships? Or are relationships related to self-knowledge?
Could be both ways.
Could be both ways. Why?
Self-knowledge, we know our weaknesses or our strengths with our relationship with other people. And to have a relationship with someone, we do need self-knowledge.
Okay. What do we understand about self-knowledge?
It's the awareness, what we think, what I feel, who I am.
Okay, who I am. Who am I? You teach me. I'm a immortal being. I'm a immortal spirit, child of God, created by God in order to learn to love. What do we understand about relationships? What comes to us when we hear the word relationships? People. What else? What comes to us when we hear relationships?
Living in society, being in constant contact with other people.
Okay, what else?
It's the way we perceive the other.
Okay. And which way do we perceive the other?
We can perceive as our brothers and sisters with the same Father who is God, with the same maybe things to learn and challenges, and no one is better than the other. There is no privileges under God. We are here to work, to do our part, and to help each other.
Okay. What else? What is the first relationship that we are dealing with? The others. Ourselves. So how do we perceive others in the relationships? As we perceive ourselves, consciously or unconsciously. So self-knowledge. What does the word self-knowledge say? Knowledge about others? Self, about me. Yeah? Self-knowledge and relationships. Relationships will depend how far we advanced in our understanding about the natural laws which we are studying within Spiritism. And within Spiritism is bringing the natural laws that we understand where we are so far. So self-knowledge is about having knowledge through the studies, who we are, how we function, what are our strengths, what are our shadows, in which way I know that I'm relating with myself, in which way I am relating with others. That could be my parents, my brothers, on the corporeal level, my children, my friends, my families, my colleagues, or whatever it is. But it will be an externalization, how I relate with myself. And as less aware as I am, less I know about myself, less I can interact in a healthy way with others. Is that making sense? Okay, we are on the same track. Let's move on then. Self-knowledge, we start with the first thought, which is in the Redação do Movimento Espírita, saying, life is a constant invitation to learn in human relationships. So how do we now develop this phrase? How could we explain us? How could we as unique beings decodify that? Explaining with our own words, what do I, as immortal being who needs to learn to understand the natural laws and within my unique way to express them, what do I understand today about life is a constant invitation to learn in human relationships? What is that?
I think when we are having different relationships, and there is always something we can learn in each one of them. It could be patience, it could be respect, but sometimes it's a bit tricky to find out which one I need to learn, because sometimes we may only be looking at what the shadows of other people's are, instead of looking, okay, what is lacking on me that I need to develop to have a better relationship with this or that person.
Where is that invitation coming from?
All the circumstances during the daily basis in our lives. I believe when it says life is when we are incarnate, right? So it's all the
Is it?
circumstances.
Is that how you understand? Okay. How do we others understand what is life?
Incarnate or disincarnate.
Okay. What else do we understand about life? Do we have different ways of understanding life? Yes or no? Yes, we can see it from a restrictive way, which is from a materialistic, corporeal way, level, or we can understand life from a broader perspective, global way, which is from the spiritual perspective under God's love. Life englobes everything. So when we read, life is a constant invitation to learn in human relationships. And my question was, invitation from whom? From whom? God. If we depart that life is God in itself, in the global level, then it's an invitation from God. Our dear Father, loving Father, who created us with love and is inviting us constantly to learn to love ourselves and love others in human relationships, for us who are in the flesh. Is that making sense? Those who are not in the physical body and are here on earth, can they also learn in the relationships? Remember, they are not in the physical body as we are, but they are on earth. Can they also learn? Can they? How?
Because life, there's no stop to life. There is a stop to our existence on earth. But when the physical body dies, we continue living wherever we are. So, for example, if we hate someone and didn't learn to forgive, even if we're outside the body, we'll be, let's say, in constant contact with the other person who may be or not in the body. So we're still in a certain kind of relationship.
Correct. And if I started to say self-knowledge in relationship, self-knowledge, self, and we are all under God's laws, wherever we are, being in the flesh or not. And the first relationship to focus and develop is ourselves, either in the body or without. We are immortal beings. Therefore, all of us, ourselves as humans, but also those who are here with us, maybe following us, maybe here on earth, they can also learn to get to know themselves and to relate with themselves in a different way, in a better way, in a more loving way, in a more fraternal way, in a more forgiving way. And we can also do that. Is that making sense? Yeah? Then move on to the next. Grazie, read it for us, please.
O Consolador Emmanuel, Spirit. The love for others includes fraternal orientation at all times when it is useful and necessary.
So let's develop that bit. How would you explain that you understand it today? Always bear in mind that our reflections, they are not conclusive. As we are all evolving, what we understand today, tomorrow will be different. But today, how would you explain that? What is Emmanuel teaching in the book or through the book or Consolador? How do we understand this?
I believe the read this last week because I had a problem. I didn't know what to do. And
Was it?
so helpful because I think sometimes we will face problems where we will have to give this fraternal orientation because we might see our loved ones acting in a way that is harmful, not for them, but for us as well. So we needed to give this fraternal orientation. And that was a puzzle for me because I didn't say something, don't say something. But sometimes it's with respect, but it's necessary.
Yes. Do we understand why we are now reflecting for quite some time? If we reflect about self-knowledge, is not self-knowledge the core of Spiritism? And we can apply in different angles and different areas. So yes, self-knowledge and relationships. Do we live alone on earth? Why not? I don't like to be with people. Can I not say that? Can I?
Yes.
Yes, I can. A lot of people do. And why do we do that? Because we are selfish, we are ignorant, we don't understand the goodness that comes from God. Why that? It's so challenging to live with other people. Is it? Hey, is it challenging to live with other people? Why? Why? We go back to the title. Lack of self-knowledge in relationships. Yeah. So again, we don't need to punish ourselves. We don't need to feel guilty. That is not what the love of God is inviting us to do. It's inviting us to get to know who we are and stimulate the potentials that we bring within. So if it's challenging to relate with others, because our relationship with ourselves is very pure, fundamentally on what? Is a question.
Lack of love.
The answer is here. Lack of love. I was just waiting. The love of what? Lack of love. As less as we love ourselves, but bear in mind that we can consider love from the ego state of mind. That is not love. The love that comes from our essence. As more as we learn to love ourselves within the natural laws in the universe, then we develop what in ourselves? What we develop with our relationship with ourselves.
Self-love.
We develop the virtues, the higher potentials of the soul. Self-love, respect, self-respect, self-dignity, self-value. All the higher potentials of the soul that we are stimulated with, summarized in love. Is that making sense? Then it becomes easier to relate with ourselves because we become less rigid, less demanding, blaming ourselves less because we love ourselves more. Then we are more flexible from within and without. Is that making sense? Okay. And then the love for others includes fraternal orientation. All of us are in position to give fraternal orientation while we are on earth. Now I'm in doubt. I'm not quite sure. What should I say?
I like when you said fraternal orientation because where I was coming from was not fraternal at all. But when we're using this phrase fraternal orientation, then it was like just a calming down and fire. Okay, so I can see the others, the brothers and sisters, so I can have a better conversation than seeing someone, for example, like an enemy. I think it's like good ground to start something like fraternal orientation.
Okay, but still you haven't answered my question. What was my question?
If everyone can give fraternal orientation.
Good. So what is the answer?
Memory.
Very good, your memory, you are very focused. You're very focused. So everyone is in a condition of give fraternal orientation?
I think yes, because everyone has inside the potentials, and we are all created simple and ignorant, but we have the virtues inside that must be stimulated. So if we stimulated our fraternal orientation, we can develop this more and more. So everyone has this inside, but
Correct.
we must self-knowledge, acknowledge that,
Become aware of.
become aware, and like awake, realize that, and try to take this out of ourselves, the selves, not the ego.
So yes, all of us merely because we are all children of God. We have all created simple and ignorant, but we bring within all the potentials to develop ourselves. And as no one lives on earth in a isle, nobody alone, therefore we are all, through the law of society, by nature, we are interacting with other people. No, I don't know. I don't have my father, I don't have my mother, I don't have anyone. We do have, even if it's spiritual beings who are with us, all of us think and feel. Then we are communicating in the universe. Therefore, we all can give fraternal orientation, either with those who are with us in the flesh or those who are connected with us, psychically speaking. Is that making sense? Sometimes people who have ostensive mediumship, it's not the case that we will be studying today, but they can hear the voices of other spirits. Within Spiritism, that is normal, natural. But in terms of me allowing myself to give fraternal orientation for those who are with me, I need to become fraternal. I need to develop the virtues. So when they come and scream at me, I need to have internal resources of forgiveness, of tolerance. Is that making sense? So all of us, fraternal, because we all have those who are in front of us, we all have those who are behind us. Therefore, we all are invited in this stage and age to cooperate for the good of all, isn't it? Is that making sense? When it is, but it's important here, the second part of the phrase from Emmanuel, when he says, all at times when it is useful and necessary. There's a condition. Don't just talk, not knowing what you're talking. Become aware of yourself. Because again, why is he saying all the times when it is useful and necessary?
So there are times that is not useful. Some people are not open to hear, or they don't want to, or for whatever reason, we must again be aware of this.
Correct.
And when the time is useful, you say the fraternal orientation.
Yes. What do we understand by the word useful? Can we not have different definitions about useful? Can I not come from a reference, well, this is really useful for that person to know? Don't we do that sometimes? So what is useful by the words and meanings? What Emmanuel means here, Emmanuel, the spirit guide? What is it meaning?
It has an activity, has a purpose to construct something good. According
For
to
me.
God's laws.
For everyone.
For everyone. That is how we learn to discern. Is it good just for me? Then I need to tell it. Now, when I come with that pressure, be sure it's just good for me because it's not good for others. And it's not coming from a good place in me. So when we learn to discern, yes, useful and necessary about the goodness for everyone. And goodness according to the natural laws, because that goodness means it's good today, tomorrow, and always. It's good for me and everybody else.
And again, we need self-awareness to judge the useful thing for everyone. Because sometimes we are shut down for the needs of other people. So we might think, oh, this is really useful, I need to talk, I need to say something about this. But we need self-knowledge to be able to understand other people's needs as well. And try to be useful on that situation.
Yes, we need to learn to become aware of ourselves. Self-knowledge will increase our self-awareness. That I know my intentions. When I come, I really need to say that. Of course, I'm not coming from a healthy space within. And that is time to shut my mouth. Yes? So I'm doing a favor for myself and others. I'm practicing charity. Correct? And so now I'm learning to filter that and learn to discern when is the right moment, if it's time to speak, in which tone, in which way, and how much. Can you see how many things do we need to think about? But that emerges as more as we unfold ourselves in our potentials. Potentials are the higher faculties of the soul that we all bring within, but are waiting for us to stimulate them. Correct? Move on now. Martin Luther King says, we must learn to live together as brothers or we will perish together as fools. What has that to do with self-knowledge and relationships? Is that inspiring us, what he says? In which way? what he means actually by this phrase. When he said we must learn to live together as brothers, what is he referring to? How does Spiritism refer the same thing?
We are one universal family.
Spiritism teaches us that we are all brothers and sisters in humanity because we have all been created by God, loved by God, and still are loved by God. Doesn't matter the culture, doesn't matter the skin color, doesn't matter the different cultures or whatever. We are all brothers in God. And then the second part, or we perish together as fools. You don't like to hear that? I'm a fool? No, really? What do you understand about being a fool? Have we as humanity, looking from a higher perspective, been foolish sometimes? Why? Which way?
When we are selfish.
When we, throughout centuries, haven't learned to be brothers and sisters in humanity. When we kill each other, we are foolish because we don't understand ourselves, that we are immortal, that no one kills anyone. We haven't learned to relate with us and with the Creator in terms of love. We go around and hate each other. This is what Martin Luther King is telling us. We must learn. That is part of the natural law that comes from God. What is he saying between lines? What is implied? The law of God is the law of love that unites us all, even if we choose temporarily hate each other. That is not part of natural law. If we hate, if we kill, try to kill, we are fools. We are not intelligent. We are fools. Or ignorance. But this transitory is temporary. Is that making sense? Yeah. Then move on now. The gospel according to Spiritism. Cynthia, move on, please.
All those who are wounded in the heart by setbacks and disappointments of life, calmly consult your conscience. Gradually analyze the causes of madness that afflict you, and you observe them. If I had done or had not done so and so, I wouldn't be in this situation.
Make a connection, please, in relation to self-knowledge and relationships with this passage from the gospel.
I'm not sure if this is the passage, but there is a passage that says about the afflictions that we have because of past causes and the one that are from present causes. And I think mostly of the problems we have, it is usually because we learn as well now, just making a link with the heaven and hell. We learn that each imperfection we have will bring some kind of unhappiness. So usually when we are wanted, be in relationships or any other examples, it is usually because something we have done. Because as we know, God is just. If something happens to us, there is a cause, or it is a consequence. It could be of an action or something.
Okay. And this side, how do we understand it? Bringing our contribution.
I think it brings the responsibility to us. So if you are wounded in the heart, like if you are having bad feelings or you feel hurted and offended, try to look at yourself and see if you've done something and perhaps you caused this situation, I'm afraid. Something like that.
Okay, I imagine that you're talking to me. So, no, I checked, I analyzed, and I didn't do anything wrong, yet I feel hated. I feel resented. So what do you have to say to me?
Check the level of your pride.
Remind yourself, even is it that you are remind yourself, even is that you are immortal being. If you are behaving in a good way now, you are not doing anything more than your duties, but you carry an unconscious memory from centuries and centuries of experiences that your emotional memory may be here in the present now. My feelings of resentment, of hate, or whatever, vengeance, they belong to my spiritual history, which are rooted in my pride, in my selfishness, my intolerance, my lack of developing relationships with myself and God, and therefore with His creature, under the universal banner of fraternity. Is that making sense? Always when we have this, as the gospel says, all those who are wounded in the heart by setbacks of disappointments of life, what do we understand? Why do we get disappointed in life?
Lack of faith.
Lack of faith. Okay. What else? Why do we get disappointed?
And inertia.
Inertia?
In this question 943 of the Spirit's book, they ask why some people seem to be disappointed with no reason, and the Spirit says it's initially lack of faith and inertia in the sense of not being useful.
Haven't allowed themselves to develop a healthy relationship with themselves and God. That sooner or later will cause emptiness. Some people say, there's almost like a hole in me. Yes, there is. Because they haven't been developed the real values. I have been lazy, indifferent in my moral education, indifferent to be useful in the universe. And that brings consequences. Why do I feel disappointed? Because life is not as I want life to be. People are not as I want them to be. Why do I feel disappointed?
Because I want everybody else to behave on the way I want. I think it's when maybe I try to control the others.
Maybe. So when we talk about disappointments, what is our level of relationship with God? Let's say regular, satisfactory, good, optimistic.
Regular.
This is because I'm very kind, because otherwise I would say very pessimistic. Andrea, can you see the differences? So when we feel disappointed in relation to life, because through the previous experiences, many different reincarnations, we refuse to follow God's will. We do what we want to do, and we think that we will know that there will not be consequences. And they will. Is that making sense? I insist in not do what I choose to come to do, to promote myself. When I'm on earth, I always have excuses. That is why. And then our expectations from an egoistic state of mind, as we always behaved ourselves in the chair as a receiver, people need to do what I want them to do. Serve me now. Look at me now. I haven't put myself in the place of serving others. Be useful in terms of others. Because when we try to engage in that dimension of self-knowledge, we will diminish our disappointments. Because our expectations change. Is that making sense? Do we all have, as we are all learners, experiences that we may say from time to time when we analyze our lives and we say, oh my God, if I look back, if I haven't said that in that situation, if I haven't behaved in that way, don't we have regrets sometimes? What are those regrets referring to, showing about us?
Our level of conscience?
Self-awareness. We are increasing our self-awareness in showing that our relationship with us is improving. Because at least now I'm conscious. Even if it took me months or whatever, I really became aware now that wasn't healthy. That is good. We become aware our self-knowledge is increasing. Our relationship with us is improving. Therefore, we can do something now about it because it reached to the conscious level. Is that making sense?
I was just thinking about that when you said about the level of exigences.
Demands?
Yeah.
Yeah, yes, good. Then we carry on here now with a thought from Marco Prisco. Andrea, would you like to read it for us, please?
Marco Prisco. Before accepting the vibration of matter that torments others, we must meditate in order to learn that only love nullifies our effort.
Would you like to comment? How do we understand the words of Marco Prisco? Before accepting the vibration of hatred that torments others, we must meditate in order to learn that only love nullifies all evil. What has that to do with self-knowledge and relationships?
Could be with our reference that hatred should be dealt with hatred. So if someone hates me, I should hate back. I had a very interesting experience with this at work, at my previous work, because I could feel this vibration of hatred, and it's so strong. It took me, I think, almost 2 years to improve a little bit, like learning to be more self-aware and not to vibrate back. But it's really hard when it comes in terms of this vibration, I think.
Okay, let's take the first part. It's a short sentence and we divide it. Because when we divide it, it's easy to understand. Before accepting the vibration of hatred that torments others, what is Marco Prisco trying to teach us?
Self-knowledge, I think. He's trying to draw our attention for the before accepting. So before is really important word.
Precisely.
So watch out, alert and signal. If you feel this vibration of hatred, stop it and try to not give automatic response for that. I mean, not doing hatred back, but think for a while and perhaps you can give another response, a more fraternal orientation. Please.
Correct. Very well said. Before accepting means be aware. Shut your mouth. Be conscious. Be alert internally, what we think and feel. Accepting the vibration of hatred that torments others, helping us and everybody else to understand when we hate others, we are tormented souls. Because if we learn to love ourselves and develop a healthy relationship with us, through self-love, we will free ourselves from hatred. And therefore, we will no longer have the need to hate others. Because it's very clear, the torment from others. But how do we accept that? How can we accept the hatred from others?
If we don't have like those boundaries in the feelings as well, it's very easy to pick up everything that people are sending to us. There's
Okay,
no protection.
So if I don't have protection in terms of what I think and feel, then I can also validate that, accept that, consciously or unconsciously, isn't it? In which other way can we accept the hatred of others?
Being unconscious without self-knowledge.
Be unconscious, not having developed self-knowledge. Mind relationship with myself is very close, very shut down, very primitive. Is that making sense? Yeah? What else? In which other ways can we accept the vibrations of hatred from others?
Don't remember Jesus at all.
Okay, so what did he teach us as he is our signing pathway? What did he do? That he never responded in a hateful way for those who hated him. He never accepted that vibration. Why not? Because you complete. He was responsible for himself. When we learn to be responsible for what we think, what we feel, what we say, what we do, then even when we feel, as you gave your example, coming from others, we, in a responsible way, understanding the responsibilities of autonomy, choose to tune in a different vibration. When we choose to elevate us in a fraternal level, to forgive, we will not accept the vibrations of others. We will not tick that box, because that is an option for us. Is that making sense? We must meditate in order to learn that only love nullifies all evil. It comes to us when we read that part of the sentence.
It's just the opposite vibration.
He is helping us to relate with us, let's say from the self level onwards, yes? When we learn to meditate, what do we understand? Well, give me a break, Ebenezer. I need to go in my room now. I need to be quiet. I switch everything off. I need to meditate now. Is that what he's saying? So what is he trying to say now? Well, if you say no, we say why.
Like teaching the self-knowledge, the awareness that we might stop and try to reprogram our thoughts and the way we perceive the hatred in this case.
Okay. Could also say meditate means reflect, think about. What is the greatest power in the universe? Quick. Love. We have that in the tip of our tongue. Yeah, love of God. So therefore, that is what he say. If any evil, internal or external, is there, love, love. I heard the other day someone with a lecture said, if someone is really gossiping about me or is talking about my back, I just say, forgive, 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 because I want to care about myself. I don't want to be toxic anymore. And it's so wise. It's so true. We have that option constantly. It's easy if you are not aware, if you don't develop self-knowledge, easy. We are there as well, from the power of ego. No, the greatest power is love. And love frees us and others. Love coming from God, which is the greatest power in the universe, develops relationships which are healthy. Does that make sense? Carry on here in the book Consolador by the Spirit Emmanuel. When humans Christianize themselves, understanding the moral positions, it is in its true perspective, there will no longer be any collision between the events of common existence and their knowledge of the gospel, because their effort will always be of sincere cooperation in favor of the spiritual elevation for all. What comes to us now? What to understand with the benefactor Emmanuel when he says, when humans Christianize themselves, who are humans?
Ourselves.
Immortal spirits who are in the flesh temporarily through the law of reincarnation. So now, when humans Christianize themselves, what is that? What is he meaning by it?
It's a level of evolution that we will achieve one day, where we will learn, we will know everything. And we will learn, by this stage, we will know how to love.
What else comes to us? What do I understand as a immortal being to Christianize myself? Is to become holy?
No.
Is to become a religious person?
No.
So what is it?
Is that chapter in the Gospel from Spiritism, the man, the good man, and it's the same as the good Christian or the good Spiritist. So it's the one that follow God's law.
Precisely. So to Christianize ourselves means to educate ourselves in a free way according to the natural laws in the universe. That is to say, in relation to ourselves and others, learning to be fraternal. Despite of our cultures, despite of our skin color, despite of our religions, we are all children of God. Christianize, learn to forgive. But the other started. I choose to stop. It's my opportunity to evolve, to grow. But the other stole something from me. Let go, because nothing belongs to me. I'm adjusting my spiritual accountancy.
I'm just remember, this is quite something very childish on us, like, oh, the other one started. So I'm remembering my 6-year-old who always says that, oh, we started.
Yes, it is.
So we sometimes do that.
Yes.
But it doesn't matter because I can stop it.
Yes. And as immortal beings, as we all are, sometimes we keep on in this, he started, and therefore I hate you, I hate you, I hate you because you started. And we keep on for centuries. For centuries. Up to one point we are exhausted. And then we may open ourselves, oh my God, I'm tired. No. We all did mistakes. We all are essentially beings of goodness, but we all did mistakes. So even if all this started, it's my time to test myself in mortal love within myself, developing a better, healthier relationship with myself, understanding the moral positions in its true perspective. What do we understand about it? Everything is transitory on earth, so I don't need to be concerned. There will be no longer be any collision between the events the events of common existence and the knowledge of the gospel. So here we are reminded by the Spirit Emmanuel that our behavior, as more as we evolve and Christianize ourselves, which is to developing the characters of the good being according to the natural laws, we will diminish the difficulties that we have in our common existence and according to the lessons of gospel, because we are more and more familiar with them, because the lessons are within. Through self-knowledge, we become aware, we stimulate, and therefore our relationship in the common existence becomes more healthier, balanced. What do you love?
It feels like very simple.
It is. We are complicated. We complicate ourselves throughout centuries. It is. Imagine when we think rational, now in the stage where we are. We know that everything summarizes love. Do we think that love is a complex thing? When we free ourselves from pride and selfishness, what is left? I don't know, Evanism, I have never been there, you can say. I wonder if we become more, if we simplify ourselves more. Is that not what the superior spirits are? They're simple. For instance, we are talking about relationships. Do the superior spirits hate each other? So are they complex or simple? Do the superior spirits waste their time hating and killing each other? Never. How do they occupy their lives and time? Working, be useful, doing good, cooperating with a proposal of doing good for everyone, and that brings real happiness. Is that complex or simple? You look at me, Cynthia, as I want to talk something foreign. Are you okay?
I will be by the end.
Yes, we will all be. Now we move on with Joana de Angelis in the book O Despertar do Espírito. Grazi, would you like to read it for us, please? Oh, sorry, I need to move, yeah?
The human being can in no way live without the relationships which constitute basic factors for facing the challenges and developing values that are innate in an embryonic way.
What is she teaching us? Is she teaching us here in relation to self-knowledge and relationships? The human being can in no way live without relationships. Why not? My first question. Is she right or wrong?
Right.
Right, why?
We are social beings.
We are by nature social beings, correct? As the Spirit's book teaches us. As the Gospel teaches us, the Medium's book, the Hell and Heaven, Genesis. And then, which constitute basic factors for facing the challenges and developing values. How can I explain that? So we understand that we are social beings. So how do we understand the following part? Constitute the basic factors for facing the challenges. Where are the challenges? In, out. In.
Like the earth is a school, and as social beings that we are, we need to learn with each other. So developing values as well as facing challenges.
Is it normal in our stage of evolution that all of us undergo challenges?
Yes.
Plenty of. Yes, I feel great. And are we okay with that? Are we already developed a maturity internally that we understand that actually is the way of living on earth? When we finish one challenge, starts another. When we say that earth is a school, well, what do you do in school? To sleep in school? No, to learn constantly. So challenges are opportunities for us to relearn or learn new ways of being. Correct? Then we carry on again with Martin Luther King. It's written wrongly. I did a mistake here. We have before us the glorious opportunity to inject a new dimension of love into the veins of our civilization. He really goes to the roots of us. I like his power, his energy. So what is he meaning here? We have before us, he already disincarnated, for those who don't know. He's no longer with us on earth. But his teachings is still very current. Is that still applying? When he said we have before us the glorious opportunity, what is he referring to? to inject a new dimension of love into the veins of our civilization. How? What is opportunity? The opportunity that we are reincarnated. We are on earth. We are occupying our place in the universe on earth where we are to contribute towards developing more love amongst ourselves. Relationships. But what do we understand when he said inject a new dimension of love into the veins of our civilization? An idea?
I think he's referring that perhaps we develop quite a lot on the wing of the intellectual and technology, for example, but we haven't done so much in the wing of the emotions and being fraternal and developing the values within ourselves.
Good. So if we carry on learning as we are here, understanding that Spiritism is inspiring us to develop self-knowledge in relation to our relationship with us and others, therefore, do I, through self-knowledge, understand that I'm part of the civilization? Yes. Do I understand that I came back to help the civilization to grow, to evolve? How? Changing others? No. Looking back, learn to love yourself more. Relate with yourself in a more respectful, dignified way from the essence level onwards. Therefore, each one of us is cooperating towards bringing that love into the veins of civilization, changing the patterns, the paradigms. And all of us, we are invited to cooperate with that. And then he carries on saying, no, did I say that one? No. I look to a day when people will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. Is that what the superior spirits are teaching? Yes. I guess Jesus also may be thinking, oh my God, I look forward to this humanity. One day that they don't fight against each other because they have different color, but because they have character. What do we understand about character? What's character? Do we all have character? Are we all people of character? I hope so.
Good or bad character?
Good or bad? I was waiting, yes. So we have good or bad, don't we? Depending on our values that we conquered so far. If you carry on in the book Mecanismos da Mediunidade by the Spirit André Luiz, let's learn a bit more about forgiveness. Would you be kind and read for us, please?
Forgiveness is the remedy that encompasses the sick soul. Don't admit that despair overwhelms your energies. Keep offenses is maintaining the shadows. Let us forget evil so that the light of goodness sustains us on the way.
Would you like to comment?
Don't hold on to it.
Sorry?
Don't hold on to it.
Okay. And ourselves, what do we, apart from what our colleagues said? Self-knowledge and relationships. When we start with the first, forgiveness is the remedy that recomposes the sick soul. Are we all sick or not? Are we all in a healing process? Yes. Therefore, what is the great remedy? Forgiveness. Then we free ourselves from hatred, from revenge, from resentment, from all these sick aspects of ourselves. Yeah? And as more as we become aware that we are immortal beings and we are here to heal ourselves, not from others, from us, then forgiveness will be part on daily basis that we'll be practicing and exercising. Then we can ask, well, do I really have opportunities to do that? Do we have opportunities to train forgiveness on daily basis?
We do.
Do we?
I think if we part to the point, we are all imperfect, we all make mistakes, and the people around us also on a daily basis make mistakes, so we need to forgive each other, otherwise it will be unbearable to live together.
Precisely. And as our major aspect of learning on earth is developing
The virtue.
love. So up to the point that we haven't developed the real love fully, we need to forgive. So the forgiveness actually in practice is the training of more love in us. Is that making sense? And around us, Don't admit that despair overwhelms your energies. How can we admit that despair overwhelms our energies? Can we do that? Do we get in despair sometime? The others probably, our neighbors, yeah? Keeping offenses is maintaining the shadows. What? What is that Luis teaching us here? Is that to do with self-knowledge? Lack of self-knowledge. We keep on maintaining the offenses and having pleasure in it because we are not aware of ourselves. Our relationship with us is ego plus ego. We haven't reached the level to connect with our essence. Say, hey, I'm damaged. I'm wounded. Let's rescue myself from myself and stop the negativity. Let us forget evil so that the light of goodness sustains us in the way. What do we mean forget evil? Can we erase our memories?
No.
I wish so. No, we can, although we would like to. So how do we do that? Rewrite your memory with a new concept based on self-knowledge, relationships according to brotherhood, fraternity, goodness. Our goal is to become good in essence. And therefore, we don't forget the experiences, but we change our belief systems in relation to what happened according to the natural laws. And then we still remember because it's part of our history, but we are not attached emotionally in a negative way. We are free. We become independent, right? And we carry on. Cynthia, lead the next one for us.
Fidelity in the relationship with a conjugal partner or not, when there is sexual commitment, is predominant because it demonstrates the authenticity of the feeling that involves them both. When false needs of new experiences are presented, emotional disorders, psychological insecurity, weakness of character, or futility in the face of life are faced. Promiscuity of any nature is always a syndrome of emotional imbalance and moral primordialism.
Would you like to comment?
I think Kardec also comments about marriage as well in the Spirit's book, which one of the questions was, what would we thought if marriage was something, if we did not strengthen
Abolished.
But
if you would abolish marriage, yeah?
And then they said we were going back to selfishness.
To primitive
primitive
state, yeah?
So I think it's again another fidelity in any relationship is another skill or another virtue which is very important for us to learn, especially nowadays, which there are so many values which are being questioned and being considered as out of date.
Correct. What else? Can we be loyal to somebody else in any kind of relationship if I haven't been loyal to myself?
No.
Why not?
I think loyalty comes from within.
Yes.
So if you are loyal with yourself, you learn how to be loyal to others as well.
Correct. And what do we understand about being loyal?
Being honest and
Be
sincere.
honest, be sincere, be transparent, be responsible. I don't want to elude myself anymore. I don't want to lie to myself anymore. When we learn honesty, it's the opposite of dishonesty. I don't want to lie anymore. I want to really refer. When we learn to develop, because all of those aspects, honesty, sincerity, loyalty, fidelity, we are talking about the potentials of the soul from the self level onwards, the real values. And if we learn to develop that with our relationship with ourselves, we won't be infidel with others, unloyal to others. Does that make sense? So it's very important, even if we are, especially in these days, as you said, currently, which we have these futile values, where people use people, and they don't have feelings towards each other most of the time. But remember, what we do to others, we are doing to ourselves. And sooner or later, we bring experiences back that we need to attract those experiences that we may go through the same. Why we can choose here to sustain and maintain loyal to us, even if our partner may cheat us. That is her problems, her problem, his problem. Because that shows that they weren't loyal with themselves. Is that making sense?
In the book Life and Sex by Emmanuel, he explains a lot about sexual commitment, and much more than he said physical commitment is a lot of spiritual commitment. So he talks about responsibility, fidelity, and a lot of those things like that.
It's not just physical. We still are very attached to sexual issues. We think it is a physical thing, which is a lie, which shows the lack of self-knowledge, which shows the lack of a deeper relationship with us. Because each time when we relate on a sexual level with someone, we are relating on emotional level with someone, because we are emotional beings and not physical beings. And that is what compromises us. Is that making sense? So this is why Joanna generally says here, predominantly because it demonstrates the authenticity of the feelings that involves both of them. Even if through my ignorance I may say, no, I just have this experience, I just want to have sex, I don't want to have any commitment, that is showing my primitiveness and how I relate with others, from where I'm coming from, using people to satisfy my lower pleasures. But I'm hurting myself. I'm coming from a space of a lack of self-love. So it's much complex than we initially think. The promiscuity, as she says here, of any nature is always a syndrome of emotional imbalance and moral primarism. And yet, in these days where we are on earth, it's just amazing how it is. But we also are reminded, we are facing a stage on earth that in this challenging moment where we have the last opportunity to be on earth, either we move forward, evolving, or we move on a different planet. God, through his mercy, allowed many brothers and sisters from these deep, dark levels to come up with these vices, and they are visible everywhere. And we are invited to develop the love, respect, and dignity towards us, and not get moved and dragged into this lack of love experiences. Remember, other people are spirits and are children of God as we are. So when we relate in this promiscuity level, we are still very promiscuous. In our relationship with the other, we still haven't become aware that they are essentially divine beings. Is that making sense?
Vanessa, how do we teach our children about sexual commitment? I mean, because it's so easy these days, and it's so open, and it's a lot of, it's something we have to talk at home. And I think it's quite a challenge to talk.
It is these days. It's very challenging for all of us who are parents. But we knew that as spirits, before coming to earth, we knew the face that would be here, and we agreed to help them. It's challenging because external elements are all there. What can I do? Change the external elements and values? No. Change the values at home. This is why Spiritism inspired us so much to bring God and his laws at home, that we talk more, that we reflect, and open always the channel of communication with the children, so that they always can feel safe to come back for us as parents to talk about their insecurities or what they heard at school. You know, mommy, I heard something today or whatever, and they come and talk. If the channel of communication is there. And then as more as we, as the Spiritists and others who have religions, really bring them into the Spiritist Center, the child education that we have here, helping them to learn from a young age onwards the reincarnation, the law of cause and effect, which is taught constantly, that helps them to remind them what they learned in the spiritual world. And we as parents come with them, give the example, and then at home, gospel at home, prayer, and help them to talk about, bring the conversation in a normal way. Sometimes they may be eating or maybe sitting and then come out and then may read something, or someone may say, oh, and then you saw that the window open and then you start. How do you understand that? What do you learn in Spiritism? Always helping them to learn to value themselves, to respect their body, that belongs to God and not ours. To develop dignity towards themselves, to develop self-love, to develop respect, emphasize those values. And although the majority out there are behaving in one way, you, my dear one, you can say, you have internal the free will that God gave you for you to be wise and make wise choices. Everything in life has its time to do. Is that making sense? Okay. Then we carry on here in the book, in the domain of mediumship now, by the Spirit André Luiz. Where do not prevail the emotional affinities, earthly marriage is a redemptive service and nothing more. In most situations, the death of the body only ratifies a separation that already exists in the vulgar experience. In such cases, the spouse who abandons the physical body frees himself from the trial he underwent, in the manner of the debtor who attained the peace of redemption. How is that related with self-knowledge and relationship? What is André Luiz teaching us here? As we understand that we are all immortal, here we are married, let's imagine. We are married with someone, yeah? But sooner or later we will die. The physical body will die. We will disincarnate. Will we all carry on together in the spiritual world? Will my wife be on my side, my partner be on my side? No? Not at all? At least one possibility. Or not at all?
It could be.
Oh, could be. Give me some hope. So in which way no, in which way could be?
If we learn to love, it could be. If we didn't.
If you are not in a partnership, and we learn here by the superior spirits through the natural laws, if I learn to respect, if the other doesn't respect me, once come to term that we free ourselves from the physical body, bye. We move forward, the other stays, or we stay, the other move forward. Because once we free ourselves from the physical body, everyone will end up where we are here. If I respect now, I will move in that respectful sphere. If I'm promiscuous, as I saw previously, with the promiscuous I will be. Correct? Is it helping us to become aware and make the effort to be honest with us, to relate with us in an honest way, in a healthy way, in a truthful way? We are the authors of our destiny. No one can hold us back. Only us. Is that making sense? Correct? In the Spirit's book, now, Grazi read it for us. Question 766.
God has made humans for living in society. Otherwise, it would have been needless for God to have endowed them with speech and all the other faculties necessary for a life of relationships.
Would you like to comment?
I think it's very interesting the way Allan Kardec puts that. Why do we have the speech? Why God gave us the faculty,
to talk, to express.
So that's maybe has a purpose. So
maybe
to live in relationships.
Maybe
I think
the purpose is to communicate, to give fraternal advice, as we saw previously, when it's useful and necessary, to talk, to open the mouth. I'm so shy. We need to break through and cooperate, to talk, to express the goodness through our mouth. Because so many people may not have that ability, isn't it? Because they come limited. Or God knows us in the future. If you don't like if you don't choose to use the communication for goodness, then we may attract the limitation. For us to educate ourselves, never to punish. Then the next question says in the Spirit's book, question 768. In seeking society living, do people only obey a person's sentiment? Or is there a wider providential purpose involved? What is the question about? If we were to reframe it according to our own words, better when easy, present the answer is easy for us. Humans must progress. They cannot do alone. However, since they do not all possess every faculty, they need contact with others. In isolation, they become brutish and vulgar. Training or lack of training, the goodness within, the good characters. Can we do that only alone? But can I not relate with myself in that way? I choose to move on the top of a mountain. Now my relationship with myself will be excellent. Can I do that? No, because God in his natural laws presented law of society. You are not a unique being. You need to train yourself in relation with others. We need to be in relationship. Then we develop our inner internal relationship with us. Question 469. By what means can we neutralize the influence of bad spirits? Has that to do with self-knowledge and relationships? Sometimes we talk about obsessions, bad spirits. It's not the case of obsessions today, but we are all relating ourselves with different spirits, either incarnate or disincarnate. All of us, conscious or unconscious. And then the answer from the Enlightened Spirits is by doing good and placing all your trust in God. Give up the ego state of mind. You repel their influence and you destroy the power they desire to have over you. Guard yourselves against listening to the suggestions of the spirits who excite wrongful thoughts in your mind, those who incite discord and arouse in you all the basic passions. That is fundamental to this question when we reflect about self-knowledge. All the spirits, incarnates or disincarnates, they associate with our patterns. So, improving ourselves, freeing from the inferior basic aspects in us, we are neutralizing these influences, creating relationships with the good spirits, with those who are there to inspire us constantly. In the question 459, do spirits have any influence on our thoughts and actions? Yes. What is the answer? Yes. Comma.
More than you think.
What else? There is the first part. What else? More than you think. Comma. Who continues?
Who knows in English?
So much so that they are the ones who guide you. Where are we with our own self-knowledge, with our relationship with us? Who are we allowing to guide us? Profound questions that we may ask us. The influence, as we said, the answer here. We go a bit further here. Could spirits who are not sympathetic today become sympathetic later? You're talking about relationships. Could spirits who are not sympathetic today with us, could they become sympathetic tomorrow? Or the ones that we like that person? Will I learn tomorrow?
It's possible.
It's possible. Why is it possible? Is it possible or will it happen for sure? For sure, because it is God's laws that all of us sooner or later will learn to love each other, to respect each other through the law of fraternity, universal fraternity. And in that way, we are coming to the end today, reflecting about self-knowledge and relationships. Grazie, would you like to end it for us, please, with a prayer?
Dear Father Lord, we thank you for the opportunity of learning today, learning the eternal laws, learning about love, self-knowledge, respect, and always bear in mind our relationships, most of all with ourselves and with the others. Thank you so much for all the knowledge that we received,
all those light in the books we have. Thank you for Jesus' example, the gospel, that are the eternal words of God. We thank you finally for all the benefactors and for the opportunity today. So be it.
So be it. Much peace to all. A good week, and I hope to see you next week.